Hello, and welcome to Choose CHQ Live CHQ, a monthly program brought to you by the County of Chautauqua Industrial Development Agency and the Chautauqua County Partnership for Economic Growth, focusing on business development and economic development in Chautauqua County. I'm your host, Jason Sample, and this month we are going to be focusing on two key pillars of our economic development focus. We're going to talk about business development and infrastructure, and we have two folks from the Jamestown Board of Public Utilities joining us today to give us more details about the BPU and how it helps with business development here in southern Chautauqua County. Joining us are Chris Sellstrom and Ellen Ditonto. Chris and Ellen, thanks for talking with us today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, happy to have you here, and of course, not only remind our residents and businesses about all the things that the BPU does to help keep things moving forward in Chautauqua County, but also anybody who may be watching from outside of Chautauqua County that wants to learn more about the valuable asset that the BPU has become for business development in the Jamestown area specifically. It's a great way to inform people in a very short, compact program, so we're happy to have you here. And maybe a good place to start out with is just sort of a BPU 101. What is the Jamestown Board of Public Utilities? What does it do? And how does it help residents in not only Jamestown, but the greater Jamestown area?
Sure. The BPU is a municipal utility. We've been serving the community with utilities for over a century. So long, proud history of electric generation, water supply. We also have a district heating division that provides hot water to the buildings in that kind of the urban core area. We have a solid waste division that move solid waste, and we also have wastewater, and we're now rolling out fiber optic infrastructure as well. So we serve the community. We operate under the city. We have a 9-member board, and the mayor appoints the board members, and we operate for the benefit of the city. We also provide services beyond the city limits in the neighboring towns and villages.
All right, so let's talk a little about what you two do here. I held off on giving your titles because I wanted you to explain basically what your titles are, but also what you do to help with the BPU. So Chris, we'll go with you first. You're the top dog now, right?
Yeah, I'm the general manager, so I'm in charge of the operations of all the utility divisions, and we've got a great team. And Ellen and I were very focused on economic development along with our whole team.
Prior to being general manager, you were with the BPU though before that, and you're a Jamestown native, right?
Yeah, Jamestown native. Grew up in Jamestown. Went to college in Vermont and came home after that, and started back. First job back in town was actually at the BPU as a junior engineer, and kind of went through the engineering and got my MBA and focused more on the business side over time, and eventually into power generation, and kind of worked my way up to general manager.
Excellent. Ellen?
I am the business development coordinator. I've been there for 4 years at the BPU, and this is really kind of a culmination of my career. I've been really interested in business development over time. I've worked for private business as well as the public sector, and this gives me an opportunity to talk to our businesses and organizations that are really moving this area forward. I love the idea of Choose CHQ and Live CHQ because it's so important to what we do at the BPU.
Thank you very much. You talked a little bit about the general overview of the Board of Public Utilities, but let's talk about what differentiates it, especially when it comes to electricity compared to other electric providers that people typically are familiar with when it comes to getting electric service. What makes the BPU different as compared to some of the other more regional electricity providers here in New York State?
I think a big part of it is the value proposition. We're municipally owned and operated, so we are owned by the community. Our purpose is to serve the community, not shareholders like many of the investor-owned utilities. That's their focus. Our focus is to provide service and value to our community. So everything that we do is to improve the value of the service and reliability, resiliency, and we're also very accountable. We live locally. We take the services that we offer. We're impacted by the same reliability or affordability metrics that maybe is more disconnected in other places.
I think the idea that it's a board, it's in the title, right? The Board of Public Utilities. Mm-hmm. You have a community represented board and not people who might be scattered across the United States. These are all residents of Jamestown who oversee the utility and provide guidance that you sort of take your instruction from, right?
Yeah.
Right on. How far outside of the city of Jamestown does the BPU serve? Is it strictly within the city limits, or does it go beyond? I know the answer, but let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it varies by utility. So the electric division is statutorily defined, so it has a very specific service area. And we serve the town of Ellicott, the village of Faulkner, the village of Sellstrom, and that's pretty much the electric side. Water goes past those areas. We also serve the town of Bustide, the village of Lakewood. Solid waste stays pretty close to the city limits. District heat is focused only in the downtown core, mostly from an infrastructure problem, not because we're not able to serve it somewhere else. Electric's the only one that has the kind of the firm boundaries. The others can be different. Fiber will go to the same service area as electric. There's a full map of all the services on our website if anyone's curious.
Right on. So we'll take a quick break here, but one final question. As a resident of Jamestown, I'm fully familiar with all that the BPU does in terms of services for rank and file residents, people who live in the city or even sometimes outside of the city. What about businesses that are interested in setting up here? Are there opportunities or incentives that really help to attract businesses to the Jamestown area?
Definitely. I think that the Board of Public Utilities, between the low-cost, reliable electricity and the water, we have the best water, as you probably are well aware, in the county. So that's not only an incentive for new businesses, but for existing businesses to increase their business here and to improve it. One of the things that we do is to try to be part of the economic development package. We can't do it alone, but we work very closely with the IDA, with the city, with other entities, economic development entities, to make sure that we're at the table. Because business development in our area is not just a single conversation. I mean, it takes time. As you know, economic development doesn't happen overnight. One of the things that is unique to us, though, is that we can advocate with the New York the Power Authority for economic development power incentives. And one of those is with Electrovaya. They were able to get an extra incentive for power to come here. So that's been important. And some of our other manufacturers have been able to get that as well.
So it's really a process of navigating all the different opportunities that are available, the incentives that are available, and reminding businesses. So you as a contact person from the BPU can point to the IDA and say, you might want to look into this program from them, or New York State, or the myriad of other incentives that are out there to help make businesses a go here in our area.
And I think one of the things that we have found, Jason, is that everybody works so well together. We feel like we are partners, whether it's the city, the county, the Empire State Development, and that has been very important for us to land both new manufacturers and to have our current ones expand.
All right. We're talking with Ellen Ditonto and Chris Sellstrom here on Choose CHQ Live CHQ. We're going to take a quick break, and on the other side, we're going to talk about some other programs that they have underway and events and activities that they're involved with here in the Jamestown area. So stick around. There's plenty more to come. Again, on Choose CHQ Live CHQ. And welcome back to Choose CHQ Live CHQ. Again, I'm your host, Jason Sample, and we're talking with representatives from the Jamestown Board of Public Utilities today about all the opportunities and products that the BPU offers. We have Chris Sellstrom and Ellen Ditonto joining us. Again, thank you both for taking time out and talking with us today. And let's move along with a few more questions and familiarize our audience with what the BPU has to offer. So the BPU was recently awarded a multi-million-dollar grant from New York State's Power Up program to help support more electrical use in the Mason Industrial Park, which is right to the east of Jamestown, just outside of the city. Can you explain how this will help with business development in the industrial park?
Yeah, the park right now doesn't have a ton of electrical capacity, and there's a couple manufacturers that are looking to locate there. One of those is Electrovaya. And the Industrial Development Agency, Chautauqua County Industrial Development Agency, has a large 60-acre site that is shovel-ready, but it doesn't have a ton of power access. So this Power Up program grant, which we're very thankful for Empire State for seeing the value in it, what we're going to be doing is running a new conduit system, underground power lines from our main substation out to that area. So it's a pretty long run and it's a big project, but hopefully we'll have that online toward the end of this year, and it'll increase the electrical capacity available in that entire industrial park. So that includes capacity for Electrovaya, some of the other large manufacturing facilities that are in the area, as well as the Chautauqua County IDA shovel-ready site, which is about 60 acres. So very excited about that. It should solve the power needs for any industrial customer that wants to come locate in our community.
When you think about zoning in the areas, you hear light manufacturing, heavy industrial. I mean, does this ramp up of electric power really help to ramp up the type of business that can function and operate in the industrial park?
Yeah, certainly. When you look at siting a new manufacturing load, one of the biggest questions is their power. their utilities. So there's power, is there water? Is there a way that we can run our machines and build the thing that we want to build? And without power, it's pretty hard to do. So we're excited to be able to have that power there and be able to serve those businesses. We also have an economic development program and an economic development rate. So if a large industrial customer comes into our community, if they export a majority of their products outside of the community, if they have a high load factor, meaning that they run a lot, they're continually using power, and if they employ people, then we give them a discounted electric rate, which really helps manufacturing in this area. Is
that program established by the BPU itself, or does the state have to provide overview and say, yeah, you can do that? No, let's scale it down a bit.
The overall rate structure is approved by the Public Service Commission. Locally, we decide on the contracts and the terms and things like that. So there's some rules around it, but there is some local ability to negotiate with the manufacturers.
Excellent. So let's talk about marketing the county and also reminding folks that there's a lot of opportunity here in the area. This is something that was launched a few years ago, Ellen. I'll have you talk a little bit about this. The annual Retool WNY. This happens every year, but it's coming up just around the corner as of the recording of this interview here. What is the purpose of the event, and how does it help to attract new businesses to our area?
Well, there is a history, as you mentioned, about Retool Western New York, and that was 4 years ago. There was a grant from NYSERDA, the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, to help us build this area up in terms of our potential for new energy customers. So Electrovaya is one. There's also the need for us to do workforce development, so we looked at that as part of that grant. And since then, we've been able to have every single year, we've had a conference, a one-day conference, where we have brought in people to talk about entrepreneurship, what they've done in new areas in terms of the energy sector, and connecting those entrepreneurs with manufacturers, because we have a great number of manufacturers in the supply chain, and they can do a lot of work there. So the grant was the first piece, and the conference, the annual conference, is really the second piece, to make sure that our manufacturers are meeting up and talking about things that are important in the energy sector and also in the workforce development area. So exciting this year, June 9th, you talked about this year's conference. It's June 9th at the Harbor Hotel in Celeron. We expect about 150 people. We have this year, I think, just a terrific lineup of people who are going to talk about energy storage and how important that's going to be as we look at electrifying everything and the need for more electricity, especially for our large industrial customers. We have somebody coming from Cummins Corporate who's going to talk about how they're looking at, do they need to put energy storage behind their meter, so to speak, so that they have enough energy in case there's ever any kind of a reduction in energy or some kind of a time when they don't have enough energy. We also are going to have the Deputy Energy Secretary for New York State to talk about how economic development and energy policy need to be balanced. And that's a hot topic, as you're well aware. So, and we have panel discussions on Industry 4.0 and how AI can help in manufacturing. So it's really a jam-packed agenda.
Sure sounds like it. So you're not just selling people on the Jamestown area and all that we have to offer, but it's really a networking opportunity and a way to stay informed about the latest trends that are happening in the industry.
It certainly is. And that's really the important part, is to have manufacturers and organizations that support them step away for just one day and talk to people who could help them make a difference in what they're doing in the future. And I have to give a shout out to Chris, because Chris was really part of that original grant writing and helped to get that off the ground, the Retool WNY initiative, which has been very important.
Right on. So let's talk a little about the state too and the state's involvement. One of the things that I think a lot of people who are New York State residents are aware of is that New York State has set a goal to have the state become more reliant on clean energy, mandating 70% renewable electricity by 2030 and 100% zero emission electricity by the year 2040. How does this impact the BPU operations and services to its customers?
It's certainly challenging. I think there's a general consensus that we want clean energy, right? We want to protect the environment that we live and work in, and I think in the long term that's something that we will accomplish as a society. I think some of the goals that we have right now are pretty aggressive, and so we'll see how they play out over the next few years. We already serve our customers with more than 90% hydroelectric power, so locating here and working and living in here, our community is actually fairly clean already, but many of these goals and mandates are economy-wide, and they impact everything from the price you pay at the fuel pump to fill up your car to the price you pay for energy. And so from the utilities perspective, we're managing rising costs that come along with that, but we're also trying to find ways that we can turn that into an opportunity. So much like the Retool conference, that we were looking at retooling industry, and one of the primary target sectors is the clean energy economy, because there's a whole new economy that hasn't been built yet, and that's an opportunity for our community to be invested and be involved and create value ultimately to manufacture those goods and services. So we're taking the approach that it can add value. We have to manage costs, and we have to maintain reliability while we transition. But there's opportunity involved in it too. So it's challenging but exciting.
More to come, obviously, right, as we continue to move toward that deadline. We're talking with representatives from the Jamestown Board of Public Utilities. We have Chris Sellstrom and Ellen Ditonto joining us on today's edition of Choose CHQ Live CHQ. We're going to take another quick break, and on the other side, we're going to talk about the latest utility and service that is being offered by the BPU, internet service. We'll talk about where that's currently at and how much further it has to go and what it means for residents and businesses in Chautauqua County and southern Chautauqua County. More to come in just a moment right here on Choose CHQ Live CHQ. And welcome back to Choose CHQ Live CHQ. Again, we're talking with the Jamestown Board of Public Utilities. On today's program, we have Chris Sellstrom and Ellen Ditonto in the studio with us, and we're talking about business development and how the BPU helps to keep things moving forward, making Chautauqua County a viable place to do business, but also to live. So one of the things that is new, just came up, I believe, in the past year, if not even more recently than that, is internet service in Jamestown. We already have internet service providers in Jamestown. By my count, I think there's 2 or 3, maybe even 4. Why did the BPU feel it was important to step forward and offer internet service to its residents and customers?
I think it's a lot of reasons, but probably the first and foremost is the same reason why we have all the other utilities. We want to create value for the community. So owning the infrastructure is an opportunity to lower the costs, increase the service capabilities, increase the reliability of those services, and make those services accountable to our community. So that's kind of where we started. It was a couple years ago. There were a few studies going around, actually prior to any fiber being in the community. We had started talking about it, and it's kind of evolved over the last couple of years. And what we ultimately ended up deploying, and we're getting through the deployment now, is an open access network. It's a fiber optic network that multiple internet service providers can use. So it's one set of infrastructure. So rather than putting up 4 or 5 different layers of infrastructure, you can put up one infrastructure and serve internet or other services, other digital services that haven't been created yet, because this is a new system, a new style of doing business.
So you mean instead of having an individual line on the telephone pole for each individual provider, now there can be actually just be one that they can contract with the BPU and serve it through?
Exactly, yeah, and so multiple internet service providers can offer their services on that same infrastructure, much like a community road, right? The community owns the road, we build the road, we maintain the road, and then ultimately the consumers use the road, and they can also contract for services from, say, UPS or FedEx as an example, to use that road to deliver packages to their businesses or to their homes.
So how's the rollout been so far in providing internet to residents in Jamestown and businesses?
It's been a really interesting project with a very aggressive timeline. We're looking to serve about 15,000 consumer premises in about a 1.5-year construction schedule. So very, very aggressive timeline. We've put in over 500 new poles, hundreds of miles of fiber have gone up. We're about 90% done with the mainline aerial fiber, about 50% done with the splicing. Every time you have a junction, you have to splice the 2 pieces of fiber together you kind of weld them together. They're glass fibers. And then the next big rollout step is to actually provide the wire from the house, from the pole to the house, the service drop is what we call it, but the little fiber that comes from the pole and ultimately to the side of your home or business. And so we've got about 20 crews coming in next week. Actually, they're going to start doing the drops, and they will go street by street and community by community to provide those drops and install it on the house. And then once the drop is installed on a house or a business, the business or house can call and set up a time with the BPU or on our website, schedule a time to have the in-building portion done, so where you actually get the modem and the router that goes inside the house. So it's been a great project, very aggressive timeline, but we're getting through it. It's got to be complete by the end of this year, and I think we're well on our way to making that happen.
Before I get to my final question, the drops that you indicated, are those going into all residences and establishments regardless of whether they signed up for BPU specifically?
Correct. It's a free service drop. It's going to go on the exterior of the building, so nobody has to go inside, no one has to be there. But it is a free service drop that'll be there, and it'll be provisioned for if that consumer ever wants the service. They never have to take it if they don't want it. There is an option to opt out if they choose not to have that exterior piece mounted, but then they might have to pay for it later. So we're recommending that everyone just take the drop now, and then if they ever want the service, they just sign up.
So I didn't want to call out any competition specifically, but what's the general savings, I guess, if somebody were to go with BPU internet service compared? Is it 25, 20, 15% savings? How does it compare to some of the current providers that are out there?
Well, one of the things is it's not only a financial savings, because there will be some. So it depends again on what kind of packages people choose, but it's more the synchronous speed. They will get the same speed up and down, and that's different than many providers now provide in our area. And also it will be at a lower cost, because more competition means lower costs. And our hope is, as a community service, that we will see that. One of the things, Jason, that we heard early on with our early customers is that the service is great and the price is really important, and that they find that to be a benefit to the community. Chris talked about you can get a drop now or you could wait. We have found that communities that have done this open access network have added value to the residential customers in particular for their homes, because they have the fiber available.
Yeah.
Very, very exciting.
And there are 2 internet service providers. They have 4 different plans, but they are capped at a maximum cost. So we're actually limiting the maximum cost that a consumer can pay. And we can serve speeds double the current market rate. We can give 2 gigabit per second upload and download speeds, so double the speed. And at least for my house, what I'm paying right now will be half the price. And there's no need to call and negotiate or haggle with somebody on the line to get the price. The price that you see on the website is the one you get, and if you don't like it, you can click a button on your screen and change services, change plans, when you have to pick up the phone. It's all done electronically.
That's great, and I wish we could talk even more about all the things the BPU does, but we're all out of time, unfortunately. So I would ask you if you have anything else to add, but I don't think we have time to add anything. I will say that if folks want to learn more, they can look up the Jamestown Board of Public Utilities on the internet and visit the website and learn about all the services that are being offered. But Chris and Ellen, thank you so much for taking time out and talking with us today. I really appreciate it, and I also appreciate our viewers who are watching us online, taking time out to learn more about business development in Chautauqua County, how the BPU plays a role, and how we play a role in sharing that information. Again, you've been watching another installment of Choose CHQ Live CHQ, and we'll be back with more to come in the coming months. Thanks for watching.